The Finance Minister, Tito Mboweni, has, amongst others, announced that the reinstatement of the 350 Rand special grant will cost the country 27 billion Rand. Let's listen back.
The President made announcements which I now have to buttress. Firstly, the temporary extension of the social relief of distress grant of 350 Rand. This is now going to be extended up to the end of the financial year. That means March 2022. And really this is meant to react, to respond to the dire situation in which most of our people find themselves. If you drive around the country or walk around the country, you are bound to notice the extreme poverty in which our people live. And therefore this 350 Rand, no matter how small it might be, but it goes a long way to assisting our people. And this will cost about 27 billion Rand, which we have to find in the system.
Joining us now is Mr. Sizwe Pamla, the Cosatu's national spokesperson, for a reaction on the Finance Minister's presentation. Mr. Pamla, good to have you with us today. I know that you as Cosatu have been advocating for a basic income grant. The Minister touched on it slightly today, and let me quote what he said. He says, all right, I don't know what needs to be done, and this is in reference to how to make a basic income grant work. And he says that he's going to leave that up to future policy makers to focus on. Your reaction from that?
Well, we appreciate the fact that he is honest. If he doesn't know what needs to be done, there are social partners and other individuals who are ready and willing to submit their proposals and inputs to advise government. We've been discussing this for some time. We're working with other organizations, and we are putting together serious proposals that we plan to present at NETLAC and to government using all the platforms available to us. So we're happy that the minister is not taking a position. Now what we can do, because the ANC itself does have a policy of introducing the basic income grant, so we just need to open those platforms so that people with ideas can submit those ideas, and then we can talk about how to proceed going forward.
Sizwe, let's talk about your reaction on the entire package itself. 38 billion Rand, and many companies are going to benefit in terms of excise taxes and other taxes that are being deferred. What is your initial reaction? Is this the kind of package that, as Cosatu, you would have wished for?
Well, when it comes to these things, the issue of package, it will never be enough because of the enormity of the tasks that are facing all of us. But we really do appreciate that government has put this package together. It speaks to some of the ideas and proposals that we submitted at NETLAC a week ago. We are very happy. The key here is the implementation of all of this. The money that has been allocated needs to be paid to the relevant people as soon as possible, and all of those interventions needs to be expedited. As for the package itself, look, our position as the Federation is that we also do need to hear what the private sector is bringing to the table. Because if we are going to work together to really turn around the current situation, we do need to hear from the private sector, because there's been very little so far coming from the private sector. In fact, we need to talk about those payment holidays that we were promised last year, to say, can we have a conversation now as to what can be done to make sure that those payment holidays are resuscitated or reintroduced, and other interventions that the private sector can present for discussions at NETLAC.
Mr. Pamla, we've got a tweet here that comes from one of our listeners, Pepete, who says, I'm interested to see how accessing people's pension funds will be done. Will it be soon? And what will be the impact both economically for the individual's financial stance as well as the economy. What are your views regarding the early accessing of pensions and how that's going to affect you?
Actually, this is a Cosatu proposal that was presented last year at the outbreak of this pandemic. We tabled this at NEDLAC in Parliament. The idea here is that, firstly, we appreciate that if you look at South Africans, 63% of their incomes, just about all of the employed people, 63% of their incomes goes to debt service cost in terms of just servicing debt. And this is a problem when you consider that South African economy in general, 60% of it comes from consumer spending. It means that South Africans just don't have enough money to spend to create the domestic demand that everyone is talking about. So firstly, it is going to benefit the economy itself, but also to relieve workers of this debt burden that they are currently facing. That has been exacerbated by the stagnation of wages, but also the fact that for a long time, some of them have not been allowed to earn income. So they are playing catch up when it comes to paying some of these debts. So what our proposal was that workers should be allowed to at least access 30% of what is available. And from that 30%, they can be able to spend it on whatever is it that is a priority for them at that particular time. Pay off, as the minister was alluding to, pay off some of their bonds and some of their debts so that we can relieve them of the burden that they are currently experiencing. But also in the process, it will free quite a substantial amount of money that the economy itself will benefit from if it is spent on domestic consumption.
There's another comment here, if I may pose this to you, Mr. Pamla, from, I think it's Sira, I hope I didn't get that incorrectly, on Twitter. Sira says, will the Finance Department have the money should the Concord order them to pay civil servants of the final year of the 3-wage agreement? Now, we know that the Constitutional Court will be looking at this matter come August. Your standpoint regarding the fact that there are finances, money that's available for this particular time, and yet there is no money to honor the last year of the wage agreement?
The reason why we went to the Constitutional Court to actually contest this is because we expect that money to be paid. That is our position. We are not going to speak on behalf of the National Treasury. We are not speaking on behalf of government. We speak on behalf of workers. We are clear. Resolution 1 of 2018, we want that implemented. That is why we have taken this all the way to the Constitutional Court. Hopefully the court will rule in our favor. If the court does rule in our favor, we expect that money to be paid to the public servants. We are not going to participate in the game of trying to locate the money. National Treasury negotiated this 3 years ago. 4 years ago now. It was a compromise decision. Workers were not happy with that package. They accepted it because it was a 3-year agreement, and the expectation was that it was going to be honored. All we want is for that Resolution 1 of 2018 to be honored. We're not really going to take the responsibility of where the money will be found.
Sizwe, the temporary employer relief scheme, now it's been extended. The country has spent over 60 billion rand in the past year, but now there's a 5.3 billion rand which has been allocated for this. Do you think this is enough? I know you said that, these kind of packages, money is never enough, but looking at the demand out there right now, do you think that the extension is long enough and this 5.3 billion rand is going to be enough, looking at what we've spent in the past year?
Not necessarily. The 5.2 billion is not enough, but we have accepted it on condition that we can continue to talk about its extension going forward. Because it is in the interest of UIF to actually ensure that this scheme works the way it does now. Because if you were to allow for workers to be retrenched now on a permanent basis, because this scheme is really about ensuring that these workers can still be employed while employers are trying to figure out how to resuscitate the productive side of their businesses and just get on their feet. But if you were to allow these workers to be permanently released from employment, they will still go back to UIF. And now they will be expecting UIF to actually pay them for the next 12 months because according to the UIF regulations, retrenched workers have a right to go and claim, and that payment has to be delivered for the next 12 months. while they're unemployed. So this is in the interest of UIF to actually continue with this scheme so as to minimize the number of retrenchments and ensure that UIF itself is not confronted with a situation where millions of people are knocking at its door and it is struggling to keep up with the payments.
Mr. Sizwe Pamla, thank you very much for your views and insight this afternoon. He is the spokesperson for Cosatu. Thank you for your time, and thank you very much, Xolani Mbanjwa, our business editor as well.